3 minutes. That's all I'm asking you to give yourself today. Not 30 minutes at the gym. Not an expensive fitness program. Not another routine you'll struggle to maintain. Just 3 intentional minutes before the demands of the day begin. It sounds almost too small to matter. Yet those 3 minutes could quietly influence how easily you climb stairs, pick something up from the floor, or walk confidently 20 years from now. Most people believe losing mobility is simply the price of getting older. But research tells a more interesting story. Before we get to the research, I want to ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, which part of your body feels the stiffest? Your hips, your back, or your hands? Tell me in the comments. I read them all, and they help shape future videos. Now, let's see what researchers discovered. Scientists discovered that one simple movement, something that takes less than 10 seconds to perform, can reveal an extraordinary amount about how well your body is aging. No machines, no blood tests, no expensive scans, just one ordinary movement. We'll come to that test in a moment, because understanding why it matters is even more important than the movement itself. Here's something worth thinking about. None of us expect to lose our independence one small movement at a time. We imagine aging arriving all at once. In reality, it happens quietly. 1 year, tying your shoes feels just a little less comfortable. A few years later, standing up from a low chair takes a little more effort. Then carrying grocery bags leaves your back aching for the rest of the afternoon. Each change feels insignificant on its own. Together, they slowly redefine what's normal. And here's what many people don't realize. Your body isn't simply getting older. It's adapting to the movements you repeat and letting the ones you ignore gradually fade away. Think about a leather belt that's been left untouched in a drawer for years. It doesn't become useless. It simply loses its flexibility because it hasn't been used. The human body responds in much the same way. Your joints are built for movement, not long hours of stillness. Yet modern life rarely asks us to move beyond the basics. Sit, stand, walk forward, sidecken, hour after hour, day after day. Over time, the body becomes remarkably efficient at those few repeated patterns while quietly giving up the movements it no longer practices. That's why stiffness doesn't appear overnight. It develops so gradually that most people don't notice it until ordinary tasks begin feeling unexpectedly difficult. Now let's come back to that simple movement. Several years ago, researchers wanted a quick way to evaluate how well the body functioned as a complete system. Not just strength, not just flexibility, but balance, coordination, mobility, and muscular control working together. The assessment they developed was surprisingly simple. Sit down on the floor, then stand back up. Use as little support from your hands or knees as possible. That's it. When researchers followed thousands of adults, they found that people who performed this movement with greater ease generally had a significantly lower risk of dying over the following years than those who struggled to complete it. Think about that for a moment. A movement that lasts only a few seconds was strongly connected to long-term health and independence. Not because the movement itself was magical, but because it reflected how well the entire body was functioning. And that raises an important question. What allows one person to move confidently through their 70s while another begins losing that ability much earlier? The answer begins with a part of the body that's involved in almost every step you take, your hips. And once you understand how they quietly shape nearly every movement you make, the findings of this research become much easier to understand. Let's begin. So why do the hips matter so much? Because almost every movement you make begins there. Walking, climbing stairs, getting into a car, standing up from a chair, even reaching down to tie your shoes. Your hips are involved in all of it. They're one of the largest and most powerful joints in the human body, designed to move freely in multiple directions. Every step you take depends on them working smoothly alongside your spine, knees, and core. The problem isn't how they're built. The problem is how little modern life asks them to do. Think about the average day. You wake up, Sit at the breakfast table. Drive to work. Sit at a desk. Sit through meetings. Drive home. Relax on the couch. Without realizing it, your body repeats the same handful of movements over and over again. Forward, backward, seat, stand. Very little rotation. Very little squatting. Almost no side-to-side movement. Over months and years, your brain begins treating those missing movements as unnecessary. The muscles that once supported them become less active. Your range of motion gradually shrinks. And because the process happens so slowly, it feels completely normal. Until one day it doesn't. This is why many people say, I used to be flexible. The truth is, flexibility didn't disappear overnight. It simply stopped being practiced. Here's something fascinating. The body is incredibly efficient. If you stop asking it to perform certain movements, it conserves energy by reducing its ability to perform them. It's not trying to work against you. It's simply adapting to the instructions you give it every day. That's why movement is so powerful. Every time you move through a full range of motion, you're reminding your body. Don't forget this. Now, let's go back to the floor test. Researchers weren't really interested in whether someone could sit on the floor. They were interested in everything that movement required. To lower yourself with control. Your hips need mobility. Your legs need strength. Your core needs stability. Your spine needs flexibility. Your brain needs balance and coordination. Then, to stand back up, all of those systems must work together again. That's why the test became so valuable. It wasn't measuring one body part. It was measuring how well the entire body communicated as one connected system. And that's exactly how real life works. Life doesn't ask your muscles to perform one at a time. When you catch yourself from falling, lift a heavy box, step off a curb, or pick up a grandchild, your entire body has to respond instantly. If one link in that chain becomes weak, every other link has to work harder. This is also why so many people experience back pain, even when the problem didn't actually begin in their back. Sometimes the hips have become so stiff that the lower back is forced to move more than it should. The back isn't always the cause. Sometimes it's simply paying the price for something else that stopped moving properly. The encouraging news is that the body is remarkably adaptable. Research has repeatedly shown that mobility can improve at almost any age when it's trained consistently. You don't have to become an athlete. You don't have to spend hours stretching. You simply have to give your body a reason to remember what it was designed to do. And that's where the first minute of this 3-minute routine comes in. It isn't complicated. It doesn't require machines. In fact, it's a movement humans have naturally used for thousands of years, long before gyms, fitness apps, or workout programs ever existed. It's called the deep squat. At first, it might look almost too simple. But once you understand what happens inside your body while you're holding that position, you'll never look at it the same way again. Let's break it down. So, what should you actually do with this information? This is where most people expect a long workout plan. Dozens of exercises, special equipment, a complicated routine that takes an hour every morning. But the truth is much simpler. The goal isn't to exhaust your body. It's to wake it up. Remember, we're talking about just 3 minutes. 1 minute for your hips, 1 minute for your spine, 1 minute for your grip. Let's start with the first minute, the deep squat. If you've never tried it before, don't worry about doing it perfectly. This isn't a competition. It's simply an opportunity to remind your hips how they're meant to move. Stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Turn your toes outward slightly if that feels more comfortable. Then slowly lower yourself as far as you comfortably can. If your heels lift or your balance feels unsteady, hold onto a sturdy chair, a countertop, or a door frame for support. There's no prize for forcing yourself deeper than your body is ready to go. Your goal is simply to spend about 60 seconds allowing your hips, ankles, and knees to explore a position they may not have visited in years. And something remarkable begins happening while you stay there. The muscles around your hips start relaxing instead of constantly resisting movement. The joints receive fresh circulation. Your brain begins rebuilding confidence in a position it may have quietly labeled as unfamiliar. You're not just stretching muscles. You're restoring a movement pattern. That's a big difference. Most people think flexibility is about making muscles longer. In reality, your nervous system plays an enormous role. If your brain believes a movement is unsafe or unfamiliar, it limits your range long before your muscles reach their true capacity. As you practice consistently, that protective response gradually softens. The movement begins feeling more natural, not because your body changed overnight, but because it remembered something it had nearly forgotten. Now, let's move to the second minute. Your spine. Most people think of the spine as one solid structure. It isn't. It's a chain of 24 moving bones separated by soft discs that depend on regular movement to stay healthy. Those discs don't receive a direct blood supply like most tissues. Instead, they rely on movement to absorb water and nutrients throughout the day. Think of them like a sponge. When gently compressed and released, they draw on the nourishment they need. Without movement, that process becomes less effective. One of the simplest ways to encourage that natural cycle is an exercise often called the cat-cow stretch. Begin on your hands and knees. Place your hands beneath your shoulders and your knees beneath your hips. As you inhale, gently lift your chest, allowing your back to arch comfortably. As you exhale, slowly round your spine and tuck your chin toward your chest. There's no need to rush. Each repetition should feel slow, smooth, and controlled. Imagine creating one continuous wave from your tailbone all the way to the top of your neck. That's exactly what your spine was designed to do. After spending hours sleeping in one position, followed by long periods of sitting throughout the day, this gentle movement reminds every section of your spine that it's meant to move, not simply support your body like a rigid pole. Even 1 minute can leave many people feeling looser, lighter, and more prepared for the rest of the day. And we've still got one final minute left. Ironically, it's often the one people underestimate the most. Yet it may tell you more about your future health than you ever imagined. Let's talk about your grip. Now, let's finish the final minute. Your grip. At first, it may seem like an unusual thing to focus on. After all, when most people think about healthy aging, they think about their heart, their weight, or maybe their knees. Very few people think about the strength of their hands. But researchers have found something fascinating. Grip strength consistently reflects much more than the muscles in your fingers. It often mirrors the overall condition of your body. A large international study involving nearly 140,000 adults found that weaker grip strength was strongly associated with a higher risk of serious health problems and earlier death. In many cases, it proved to be a more useful indicator than blood pressure alone when assessing overall health risk. That doesn't mean a stronger handshake magically makes you healthier. It means a strong grip usually reflects something much bigger. Healthy muscles, a responsive nervous system, better overall physical function. In other words, your hands often tell the story of your entire body. The simplest way to improve that strength is something humans were naturally designed to do. How? If you have access to a pull-up bar, grab it with both hands and simply hang. If supporting your full body weight feels too difficult, keep your feet lightly touching the floor. The goal isn't to impress anyone. It's simply to spend about 60 seconds allowing your hands, shoulders, and upper body to do what they were built for. You don't even have to complete the full minute at once. 3 sets of 20 seconds work perfectly well. Over time, you'll notice your grip becoming stronger, your shoulders feeling more open, and your confidence growing every time you hold your own body weight. Now, put the entire routine together. 1 minute in a deep squat. 1 minute moving your spine through slow cat-cow stretches. 1 minute hanging from a bar. That's it. 3 minutes. The routine isn't powerful because it's difficult. It's powerful because it's realistic. Anyone can find 3 minutes. The real challenge isn't effort. It's consistency. And this is where most people unknowingly make a mistake. They confuse consistency with intensity. They hear about a simple habit and immediately try to do too much. They force themselves into the deepest squat. They rush through every movement. They hang until their hands can't hold on any longer. Then they wake up sore the next day, skip the routine, and quietly abandon it before it ever becomes a habit. That's not what this is about. Your body doesn't need perfection. It needs repetition. Move only as far as today's body comfortably allows. Breathe normally. Stay relaxed. Tomorrow, show up again. Then the next day, and the day after that. Those small investments begin adding up in ways you rarely notice at first. One day, climbing stairs feels easier. Another day, your back feels less stiff after sitting. Months later, you realize you haven't struggled getting up from the floor in a long time. That's how lasting change usually happens. Quietly, almost unnoticed, until one day you realize your body is doing things that once felt difficult. Before we finish, I'd like you to make one simple promise. Not to me, but to yourself. Tomorrow morning, before checking your phone, before opening your laptop, before getting distracted by the day, give your body 3 minutes. Nothing more. Try the deep squat. Move your spine. Hang for as long as you comfortably can. Then repeat it the following morning. You don't have to believe it will change your life. You only have to be curious enough to give it a chance. If you found this video helpful, make sure you're subscribed because every week we explore simple, research-backed habits that can help you stay stronger, healthier, and independent for years to come. And I'd love to hear from you. After trying this routine, come back and tell us how it felt. Your experience might encourage someone else to take the first step. Remember, healthy aging isn't built in one extraordinary workout. It's built through ordinary actions repeated consistently. 3 minutes today, a stronger body tomorrow, and a healthier future that's shaped by the choices you make starting now. Before you go, don't let this be another video you simply watched. Tomorrow morning, give yourself those 3 minutes and see how your body responds. If you're serious about staying mobile, strong, and independent as you get older, the next video on your screen is the perfect place to continue. It breaks down another simple daily habit that can make an even bigger difference than most people realize. Click that video now, and I'll see you there.